Hey guys, previously I had made a video comparing the 30 VAT spin to the 40 VAT spin. I wanted to see which one was better, what would give you better elixirs and what would give you better talisman. At the time, and based on the description, 45 seemed to be a better deal. You were guaranteed a rare elixir, but you had to spend an extra 15 plasma. After doing the comparison, I realized that the 30 VAT spin gave you just as good epic and legendary elixirs and gave better talismans. So by using the 30 VAT spin, you're going to get a lot more elixirs and you're going to get just as good elixirs that you would from the 45, and you don't have to spend as much plasma. So based on those comparisons, yeah, it looked like 30 was the better deal, and that's what I've been using. And I wanted to wait until I had a ton of plasma to test it again so I could get some more results. Well, huge shout out to Honda Riders. He has been saving up all his plasma. All of this has been earned and not purchased whatsoever through COD points. He's been kind enough to save it up so that I could do this huge test comparison on the plasma to see which VAT is actually the best. As you can see, over 22,000 plasma is a huge amount. This takes 17 solid days of playtime to earn if you're just doing basic playing and not doing any Easter eggs. And if you were to purchase this with COD points, you'd have to spend $1,264. So definitely over 22,000 plasma is plenty to do some good testing. And I did get some really solid numbers, and I was able to see how the laboratory actually works, and they did make some changes to it, and I'll show you guys the results. Again, I had a lot of plasma to work with, so what I decided to do was test the 30, the 45, and the 75 and do 100 spins with each of them. I figured at that point that would give us some good numbers and I wouldn't need to really go past that point. And it ended up costing 15,000 plasma to be able to spin each VAT 100 times. So the difference between the 30, the 45, and the 75 is that the 30 is just going to give you 3 random elixirs. You don't really know what you're going to get. You're not guaranteed anything, and you're not guaranteed any type of specific talisman, but you will occasionally get them. For the 45, you're guaranteed 1 rare elixir, and then the other 2 are just going to be something random. And then same thing with the talisman. You're not guaranteed one, but occasionally you will get one. The difference with the 75 is that, yeah, you're going to get 1 rare elixir, just like the 45, and then 2 random elixirs. Nothing guaranteed there, but you are guaranteed a talisman every time, but it doesn't guarantee you any type of rarity. So I've made a chart here so that I can show you all the comparisons, and I've got the common, the rare, the legendary, and the epic all laid out. Now I did this before the new epics were introduced because I needed to be able to compare it the way that I did the first testing in comparison. I did this testing just 2 days ago, so all the statistics you're going to see here are current and up to date. So I've got 3 columns here for each of the different VAT spins, the 30, the 45, and the 75, and then I'm showing you guys how much each of them cost to be able to spin each of them 100 times. Again, for a total of 15,000 plasma. So we'll take a look at the common elixirs first that I got from all of the spins, and you would expect that the 30 would be getting the most common because the 45 and the 75 are guaranteed a rare every time. So out of 100 spins for each, I got 183 common for the 30, makes sense, 102 for the 45, and 103 for the 75. Also, if you think about it, I got 300 elixirs for each column, for each individual VAT. So for the 30 spin, I was getting 300 total, and out of that 300, 183 of those elixirs were common. I'll show you guys some percentages later on in the video, so it might make a little bit more sense of what you could expect for, what are my chances of getting a common or rare or whatever. For the rare elixirs and for each VAT spin, the 30 spin only gave 78 rare, which again makes sense. You're not guaranteed those, but you are guaranteed them for the 45 and 75. I got 100 for the 45 spin and 102 for the 75 spin. And what's interesting here is that this seems to be pretty well balanced. The 45 and the 75 are guaranteeing you the same type of elixirs, and it's definitely reflected here as being pretty even. Let's take a look at the legendary. Now, none of the VAT spins guarantee you legendary at all, so this is going to be random, but for the 30 spin, it gave me 28, and then for the 45 and 75, it almost gave me the same number again, 67 and 68. So yeah, those are really balanced well. For the epic elixirs, the 30 VAT gave me 11, the 45 gave me 31, and the 75 gave me 20. 27. So this gives you a good idea, the difference between the 45 and the 75. There's really not one. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna do the 75 VAT spin, maybe it'll give me some better rare or legendary epic elixirs, it won't. It's probably gonna give you the same percentage as it would the 45. After seeing it laid out like this, I feel like I had pretty solid numbers to look at some of the percentages and go by that if I'm thinking about what is my probability for getting some of these elixirs. So we'll check out the 30 VAT spin first. So for common, you have about a 61% chance of getting those. And for rare, 26%. It starts going down for legendary at 9%. And then 3% for epic. These are very different percentages than what I got the first time. So I feel like, yeah, they have really changed something, and I'll show you guys the comparison of that too and show you how they changed it. The 45 and the 70 VAT spin produced almost the same numbers, and you can see that reflected here in the percentages. So for common, you have a 34% chance of getting one of those for the 45 and 75, which is about half of the 30 VAT spin. So if you don't want common, then head over to the 45 or 75. The rare probability is about the same, and it is 33% for the 45 and 34% for the 75. And what's interesting about this is that those numbers changed quite a bit when they updated the laboratory. And I'll show you guys the comparison of that in just a moment and show you how they changed that part of it. For the legendary and epic, those numbers are almost identical. 22% can be expected for legendary for 45 and 75, and 9% can be expected for epic for those two VATs. How that plays out is that if you were spinning the 45 VAT, then within 3 to 4 spins, you would probably get an epic. So hopefully this will give you guys a good idea of what you're going for and your percentage of getting them. It will guide you better with which VAT you choose, but I would definitely go for the 45s now and skip 30 altogether. I used to be all about the 30 VAT spin, but that has changed, and I'll show you guys the comparison and how they changed it. The best way to show this comparison is with percentages, and I'll show you guys the before and the after. What used to make 30 VAT so good is that you would get the same percentages of legendary and epic as you would for the 45. So it's like, why bother with the 45 if I'm getting the same percentage of legendary epic and I don't have to spend as much plasma? Well, they have changed that, and it seems to be more of a balance. It makes more sense now for the 30 VAT, and it definitely makes it more inferior to the 45s. What they did was they decreased the likelihood or percentage that you would get a legendary or epic with a 30 VAT spin, and they increased the probability of you getting a common or rare. So that made the entire reason for doing a 30 VAT spin in the first place go completely out the window. And the only reason why you would want to do a 30 VAT is if you're broke or you really like common. I do like that you're getting a little bit more rare with the 30 VAT spin, but you're going to get so much more with the 45. It just makes the 30 not worth it. So yeah, 30 is not so great anymore. Let's have a look at the 45s and how those percentages compare from before and after. So for the 45s, they certainly moved things around. They kept the commons that you would get for the 45 the same, but they changed the rare quite a bit. Before, if you were doing the VAT spin for 45, you had a 45% chance of getting a rare. So you're going to have a ton of these, but they decreased that. They took some away from that, and they increase the likelihood of getting legendary and epic now. For the legendary and epic columns, the 30 and 45 VAT spins were like the same percentages, and it didn't really make a difference if you did 30 or 45, but that's really changed. For the 45 spin, they have increased it enough to make it much more attractive. I don't have any percentage comparisons for the 75 because I didn't originally test that when I was doing the 30 and 45 test. So the laboratory is much more balanced now, and it makes sense. This 30 VAT is not like the best VAT anymore. That wouldn't make sense anyways. The 45 seems to be the best one now, and yeah, that makes sense. In addition to tracking all these elixirs, I also tracked the talisman, and I'll show you guys how those compared. So I had 100 spins each with the 30 and the 45, and you're not guaranteed a talisman, but occasionally you might get one. So out of 100 spins with the 30 VAT, I got 24 talisman, which means you have a 24% chance of getting one. I got 8 common, 7 rare, 7 legendary, and 2 epic. For the 45 spins, again, I did 100 spins, and out of those 100, I got 28 talisman, which means you have about a 28% chance of getting one. I got 12 common, 9 rare, 5 legendary, and 5 epic, which is really good. You can also look at these numbers as percentages. If you're looking for an epic talisman, if you do a 30 VAT spin, you might have a 2% chance If you do a 45, you might have a 5% chance. How that plays out is if you're going for an epic talisman and you're using the 45 vat spin, you're going to have to spin it 20 times and it's going to cost you 900 plasma. Now you may get one before then or after then, but this just gives you an idea of what you might be looking at. Now obviously I didn't compare the 75 with this because you're guaranteed a talisman every time you spin. So I did 100 spins and I got 100 talisman, and I'll show you guys the rarity that I got. Okay, so buying the 75 vat spin 100 times gives you 100 talisman, and this is the breakdown of what I got. So 48 of them were common, so 48% chance of getting one of those. That was my cat scratching the wall behind me, sorry about that. So for the rare, I got 28, so 28% chance of getting one of those, 21 for the legendary, 21% chance. And then for epic, you have a 9% chance. This definitely gives us some insight as to how to deal with a 75 plasma spin. If you're thinking, I'm going to use this to get some epic talisman, then maybe it's not such a good idea. To get an epic talisman, you'd have to spend around 825 plasma and spin it about 11 times. Those numbers are pretty close to the 45 vat spin. You got to spend about 900 plasma and spin it 20 times. And that's where the difference is. You're spending around the same plasma, but if you do the 45 vat spin, it requires you to spin it double. So you're going to be getting double the elixirs and have the same chance of getting an epic talisman. The only reason I would ever use a 75 vat spin is if you really, really love talisman, because you're going to lose out on a lot of elixirs, and most of what you're going to get is going to be common. But I think I've covered everything, and hopefully I made it as clear as possible, but I am all about the 45 vat spin now. 30 is out the window, but you guys can check out these numbers and make the decision for yourself and how you want to tailor it to what you want. If you want those 30s for the more common and some of the rare, not great talisman, then go for it. But I hope this helped you guys out, and we'll see you next video.
Thank you for watching Glitching Queen's video. Hoorah!